So first of all, I just want to wish everyone a happy Burns evening.
Yes, of course.
The 25th of January today.
Quite appropriate for me because my husband is Scottish.
Oh, there you go. It was meant to be. So is he celebrating downstairs with haggis?
He's having haggis and tatties and neeps.
Yummy. No one else in my house other than my dad likes it. So
okay.
I'm going to have to go without tonight. Maybe another night. I just wanted to welcome everyone joining us again tonight. This evening, as you may have gathered, I'll be chatting with PAT Volunteer Judy and her lovely PAT dog Tilly, who I had the pleasure of meeting briefly earlier, about the volunteering that they've been doing at Ashgate Primary School up in Manchester. And this is really quite a cool story because Judy actually lives all the way down in Cornwall. And yet, because of the virtual visiting service, she's able to visit people up in Manchester from the comfort of her home office. So first of all, welcome Judy and Tilly. It's lovely to have you with us.
Thank you, Matt.
And thanks to everyone else for joining us on the first of these new PAT chat sessions. Obviously, they were quite successful in the first lockdown. We've kind of remodeled it a little bit now in that we're going to try and schedule them for every 2 weeks. So a Monday every other week at the same time, 7:30. And we're going to try to target topics that really help you guys with common questions that we're getting asked at the office. But we're also opening it up to you to suggest topics, so things that you'd like us to try and cover in order to help you a little bit more. So with that in mind, I think Ryan is monitoring this all the way in Wales, so we truly are UK wide today. Ryan is going to chuck in the comment feed the marketing@petsastherapy.org email address, which is what you can all use to send suggestions. And obviously we'll have a flick through those and see if any common threads come up. So please don't be disappointed if your particular one doesn't get picked. I'm sure we'll get there eventually. So why are we doing these sessions? Well, it's kind of, as I said before, really, it's to try and help you with your volunteering. Clearly, the in-person visits can't happen at the moment, so we very much are promoting the virtual service, and hopefully we can help you with that as much as possible. Before I move on, I would like to just say hello. I'm just going to lift my iPad up here. I'm working on several devices, just to say hi to as many people as possible and thank them for joining us. So, Jill Thompson, Helen Wheeler, Lynn Myers, Kitty Collins, Sarah Ellis and Hannah Shah, Maureen Johnston, Becky Morley, Jade Garner, Sarah Ellis, Sarah Wager. Crikey, Judy, we're doing quite well tonight, aren't we? Vince Larkin, Lucille Barclay, Dee Salmon, Meg. Hi, Meg. Kate Archer. Hi, Kate. Adam, Heidi Badnell, Gail, Lynn Gratian, Jackie Antire, Rachel Hiscox. Do you know what, Judy? The list goes on. Hi to everyone joining. And
it's brilliant. Hi, everybody.
Thanks, Judy. So tonight it would be fantastic if you would like to make comments as we're going through, and then I'll try and go back through those comments towards the end of the chat so that we can answer any questions that you may have around tonight's topic. We're mainly talking tonight, Judy, about your experience. So I want to know about your background with the charity, how you came to join us. I'd like to know how you became a virtual volunteer, so on and so forth. So if it's okay with you, firstly, I'd like to ask you about your background and what you were doing with volunteering with Pets as Therapy before the dreaded pandemic.
Yes, absolutely. I retired 2.5 years ago and decided, once I had nothing to do per se, that I wanted to do something for charity. And it was actually on the Facebook post that I saw there was such a thing as Pets as Therapy. So I applied for the volunteering role, and I was then tested with Tilly to make sure that she had the correct temperament, and we passed with flying colours. And as a result of that, for almost a year, I was visiting a care home here in Cornwall every week. It was a regular Monday afternoon session, and that's how my journey started. But then sadly, with COVID, I wasn't able to visit anymore.
Yeah.
And I just felt I wanted to carry on doing something with Tilly.
That's great.
And then I happened to see the Read to Dogs, which excited me immensely. And the rest is history.
Fantastic. So you were very much a traditional volunteer in that you were going into, obviously, this care home in Cornwall.
Yes.
The pandemic came along, and you're, like so many other volunteers, your visiting ceased overnight. So
quite correct, yes.
Well, what am I going to do? Now, obviously, there was a gap while we developed the virtual Read to Dog service, which I think is what you're mentioning. So can you explain how it felt, you as a volunteer? Because I've tried to convey this to people in my own words, but from your point of view as a volunteer, how did it feel to you when you could no longer visit?
Okay, I felt really disappointed, and I didn't quite see how I was going to be able to do the whole virtual session. But when I realized how simple it is to use Zoom, I tested it out for the first time ever with my daughter so that I could make sure I was linked up. We had an ambient background, and that Tilly was comfortable. That was really important. And I'll bring her across now. It's just normally, obviously, with the Read to Dog session, she's on my lap, but she's just had her dinner. So I don't know how many treats she'll take, but I'll bring her forward just now.
Let's say hello to Tilly. That would be wonderful.
Come, Tilly. Come, darling. Come on. I know you've got a full tummy.
Oh, look, and she's in her PAT bandana too. Hi, Tilly.
Say
you going to give everyone at home a wave?
Say hello.
Oh, you're looking very, very satisfied, aren't you? You've had a lovely dinner.
Yeah. So when I contacted Anne at the Read to Dogs, and she put me in touch with the Ashgate School.
Fantastic. And
quite honestly, Matt, it was so simple from the word go. Tilly loved the children. The children genuinely think that they're reading to her, and that I'm reading to her. And it just gives me so much pleasure. And the children, they, I know some of them by name now, and they actually look forward to the sessions.
Yeah, just like a regular session.
Just like a regular session.
Yeah.
The difference, though, is that we're doing it from the comfort of our own home.
Yeah.
And we're safe from COVID.
Yes. And that's precisely why we've done this, because there are so many reasons why you may not be able to have an in-person visit. And that might be that, the child isn't actually attending school because they are shielding.
Yes.
Or the fact that we're in a national lockdown and therefore no one can be, essentially leaving their home for anything other than shopping or exercise. So it does give that element of freedom. And in your case, obviously, there are no ties. So it doesn't matter where you are within the UK, you can be visiting a school that is waiting for a virtual volunteering visit, all the way down in Cornwall, even if they're up in Manchester. And that's, to me, that's a success of the virtual model. Now, obviously, I think I said to you before we went live, some of the feedback we've had is that people don't necessarily see the benefit of the virtual service. They can't quite grasp the benefit of the virtual service over an in-person visit where there is that physical contact with the dog. But you were very much singing the praises of the virtual service. So have you actually seen the benefits to the children that you're visiting?
Definitely. I got to the point where it was coming up for Christmas, and I was really disappointed that the schools were going to be closing for the holidays. And I received a beautiful Christmas card from some of the children. Is it okay if I show you?
Please do, yeah, it'd be lovely.
Go on, Dilly, go on, darling. This is what I received from them. And inside was all their names written in there for me.
Oh, that's lovely.
Honestly, Matthew, it meant so much to me. It really did. And
I think that's a sign that, you know, just to show you how much it meant to them.
Exactly. It really did.
Contact with that school because they were part of the pilot scheme.
Okay.
I know how grateful they are for the service. So yeah, they're incredibly pleased to have you're on board, Judy. So well done you.
Thank you. That's great. And then on Wednesday, one of the little boys is so keen to have Tilly to read to again that I'm actually going to be joining him through Zoom at his home.
Ah, wonderful.
Yes. And then one or two of the other children they're obviously at school. So I'll be doing the Zoom sessions with them as well. Yeah. And there's no reason why people should feel uncomfortable at all with doing it virtually.
No. Well, actually, I was gonna ask you a question around that because I think you made a reference to it earlier in that you were a bit uncertain about the whole Zoom element, but you spoke to your daughter.
My daughter, yes.
So around that, because again, there are people that maybe are less confident with, Zoom video calls or Microsoft Teams video calls. How simple is it for you to actually join it? Okay.
If anybody can use emails on a laptop, that's as simple as it is. Okay. Because I receive the invitation from the school, I click on the link in my email that I've received from them, and there we are. We're busy having a meeting.
Brilliant. So literally all you need is a laptop or something that receives
a tablet or iPad or any, yes.
Yeah, and as long as it's got a web camera.
That's right.
And a microphone.
Yes.
You can join essentially.
Yes. And you know, with COVID nowadays, so many people have learned how to go in and be in contact with their loved ones virtually, that it's no different to that.
Sure. No, you're absolutely right. I think it's just sometimes it's almost the fear of the unknown. But
yes.
if one person can do it, it's just working out how you can get that message to other people so that they feel confident at doing it. And an important thing that I have to say in my own household is you can't break it. It's not something you can break, so don't worry about that. So have you got any words of wisdom, any advice that you would like to pass on to anyone that had maybe considered doing it, but so far hasn't, for whatever reason that might be?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's important to make sure that you are doing the reading sessions when your dog is comfortable. So what I tend to do is I tend to take Tilly for a little walk, just so that she's been out and about a bit. Or if the weather's not inclement, then I throw a ball for her in the house or play tug of war with her toys, just so that she's a little bit more relaxed when we do come to have the children reading to us or we read to them.
Yeah.
I have her favorite treats next to me. So for her, it's the fact that she's sitting on my lap being cuddled by me, stroked and loved and given treats. I mean, what more could she want?
No, absolutely. It sounds like a good life to me.
Yeah. And then from my perspective, I always make sure that I have some water to avoid any coughing sessions.
Yep.
I make sure that my phone is switched off, because we don't want calls or WhatsApps or messages coming in and out. Yeah. And the other thing is I make sure that I have a pen and a notepad.
Yeah.
Each child that reads to Tilly, I like to make a note of their name so that there's continuity the next week and the week after, that you know them by name.
Yeah.
And I found children react very well to being remembered.
Absolutely. Well, it shows that you've been listening and that you value their contributions.
Oh, yes, yes.
No, that's wonderful. And do you, in terms of the environment that you're engaging with them on the sessions, is it in the office that you're talking to me from now? So
it's exactly where I am now. Yeah. Yes, yes. Obviously, it can be done from anywhere, but it's advisable not to have other people walking around or distracting either the dog or the children who are being read to.
Absolutely. And that is actually something that we've said from the get-go, is that, you know, the background really should be as neutral as possible so that the child isn't distracted.
Yes.
So, you know, people walking behind you, or check the things that you've got hanging on the walls. You know, you never know what's acceptable in your household suddenly becomes an issue. You've got a youngster zooming in.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's to picture how you would be in a classroom with the children. You wouldn't have anything to distract them. You would just be there with your dog. And that, I think, is how the virtual sessions work.
Wonderful. Oh, that's really helpful. So, Judy, if it's okay with you, I'm going to have a little flick through the comment section to see what questions we've been receiving.
Yes, of course.
Let's have a little look. Asking for the, there's somebody asking for the email address. So actually, let me just see, Jennifer M. If you're wanting to send in any suggestions for topics, please don't use the reception@petsastherapy.org. Can you use the marketing@petsastherapy.org? Thank you. We've got, I was going to ask, with the lockdown, what happens to our memberships? Do we lose out the months in lockdown, or will they carry on after our expiry dates? That is more of a question for reception at Pets as Therapy. I can't see who that's actually from. It's from Sarah. Yeah, and then reception can let you know what the situation is with regards to memberships. Lots of people just saying that they are loving watching this, Judy.
Oh, great.
And that the children, this is obviously a volunteer, the children love walking Hugo back to the classroom, obviously in normal settings.
Yes.
And people saying, you know, that they're obviously, the children are missing what they do. So I think, you know, this is clearly something that there are lots more people, lots more PAT volunteers out there that could potentially be engaged with this. It obviously can fit in very much around what you're doing at home, in much the same way as it would have worked when you were doing the in-person visits. So it would be fantastic if you are teetering on the edge of doing it, to maybe take that plunge and see if it is for you. There are plenty of schools out there that would love Pets as Therapy virtual volunteer. So I think Judy has painted the picture very clearly that it is valuable, regardless of the fact that the children can't actually, you know, touch the dog. They can still see the dog, they can still interact with the dog. And Judy is clearly a very skilled volunteer that, you know, brings Tilly into that dialogue around the story that's being read. So I think at this stage, I'd like to say a massive thank you to Judy for joining me.
It's been a pleasure, Matt.
Great. Well, that's very kind of you, and I hope to have you back on live with me at some point again in the future. Obviously, we'll be talking. I just want to also thank all of our wonderful volunteers and supporters. I haven't seen you on a PAT chat for quite some time, but thank you all for obviously renewing your memberships, and for supporters to continue supporting us through whichever means that may be, whether it be passing on word of mouth, whether it be donations, you name it. It's just incredibly grateful for your help. any suggestions, as I said before, for these ongoing 2 weekly sessions, please do email them into marketing@petsastherapy.org. It'd be fantastic to see what suggestions you have. And just finally, to let you know that we'll be back in 2 weeks' time at 7:30. So that's Monday, 8th of February. If you want to put that in your diaries, we'll see you at 7:30, Monday, 8th of February. And that will be with BBC Wales Today presenter, Lucy Owen, who's one of our newest volunteer recruits. So exciting times. I don't know who's actually going to be the host on that, me or her. Surely it should be her. Who knows? But anyway, once again, thank you very much. Judy, thank you for joining me, and good evening to everybody else. Have a lovely rest of your evening.
Thank you. Keep well. Bye-bye.